Hello and welcome. This is drTahir. In this video, I will demonstrate for you a couple of things. One, how to install Megastat on your Microsoft Excel application. And two, how to run some statistics using Megastat. I would have three separate videos in this series of videos. And in this first video, I will show you how to install Megastat and how to run frequency distribution. In video number 2 in this series of videos, I will show you how to run descriptive statistics using Megastat. And in video number 3, I will show you how to perform correlation analysis using Megastat. So let's start with the first concept, which is how to install Megastat. First of all, you would need the Megastat application. I have made that application available in the course module. So if you go under week 1 learning resources, you would see this file called megastat.xla, and XLA is an Excel application patch. If you click on it in Moodle, in the Chrome browser, it would start to download. And for downloading, I recommend the Chrome browser. It's very easy to download in Chrome browser. What you do is basically on the bottom left-hand corner, you see megastat.xla. You can click on it to install it directly, or you can choose to save this file on your computer, and then if you choose to save it, you can double click on the Megastat and it gets installed. So I'm going to install right from here, from the computer. The file has been downloaded. I click on it once and it brings me into Microsoft Excel if the Excel is already open, which I suggest that you should open Microsoft Excel on your computer. So if you look at it, it shows you where the computer saved the Megastat file. It's already saved in my computer. It's saved on the local drive C under users, drTahir, that's the folder under users, and in that folder there is a folder called downloads, and in that downloads folder I have a copy of Megastat file, fully functional. It's called megastat1.xla. When you double click on it, if you have not enabled your macros, it's going to give you this security notice that an application patch is trying to enable macros. So you just go ahead and click on enable macros, and initially you would see nothing happen, but something really did happen. And let me show you where Megastat went. If you look at the menu bar, you have the home button, the file, depending on whether it's Microsoft Office 2007 or 2010. If you use Immaculata University's computer lab, you would find this version of Microsoft Office. It's Office 2010 that I'm using. So you would click on add-ins, and you see that Megastat is installed and available. So all the different statistics that you want to run, you can run them through the use of Megastat. So in this video, I was going to explain to you how to run frequency distribution using Megastat. So let me introduce you to the data that I have This data shows some homes in a real estate market. In row 1 you have titles, so we have the variables. Variable A is price, variable B is number of bedrooms that the home has, C is the size of the home in square feet, and D is whether the home has a pool or not. 0 stands for no pool, and 1 stands for the fact that there is pool. Seems like this data is from some warmer climate region because there are a lot of homes with the pool. E shows the distance from the metropolis. And so this first home is 17 miles away from the metropolis. This one is very close to it, 8 miles, 7 miles, and so on and so forth. F shows the township that it's a part of. Usually there is a key. This one doesn't have it, but the key would show that one is assigned to, for example, West Whiteland Township, East Whiteland Township, and so on and so forth. G shows whether the home has a car garage or not. 0 means no car garage, 1 means yes, there is car garage. And the last column, H, shows number of bathrooms in that home. So 2 means 2 full bathrooms, 2.5 means 1 powder room, and 2 full bathrooms, and so on and so forth. So these are the variables in this spreadsheet. So let's run some statistics. In order to do the frequency distribution, we need to find the K, which is equal to number of groups in a frequency distribution. We need to find I, which is the interval in each one of those groups. So these two need to be found out separately. In order to find K, we use 2 to the power K rule, and it's basically 2 to the K has to be greater than N, where N is the number of observations. So let's see how many observations we have in this data set. So if we scroll down, we see that the data goes all the way up to 106. Since the first row was just the titles, there are 105 observations. So if we do 2 to the power five, we get 32. 32 is still less than 105. We have 105 observations. Let's see if we do 2 to the power 6, we get 64, which is still less than the number of observations in the data. So we know that if we do 2 to the power 7, we were going to get 128. So therefore K equals 7, because 2 to the power 7 is 128, which is larger than 105 total observations. The number before K to the 6 was 64, which was less than. So approximately 7 groups is what we're expecting. The interval is greater than or equal to H minus L over K from the previous step, where H is the highest observations L is the lowest observation and K is the number of groups. So in order to find the highest and the lowest, we can use Megastat for that as well. So let's use Megastat for the very first time to find the H and the L, so we can find the interval and do our frequency distribution. So we go in Megastat, we click on descriptive statistics, and at this point we just need the minimum and the maximum. So minimum would be the lowest, maximum would be the highest. Every time you use Megastat, you show the input range, you click on this negative sign. By the way, if you're not able to follow along, you can run this video on a separate computer and watch it while you're performing the functions on another computer, or run this one on tablet or a smartphone, and then feel free to go backwards and forward in the video if you are missing a step. So again, what I did was I clicked on Megastat, descriptive statistics, selecting the input range. We're going to do frequency distribution on the size of the homes. So I clicked and dragged. While clicking, I'm dragging my mouse down to select all of the data. So once I select all of the data, I click on this button right here to go back into the main dialog box. So now I'm in the main dialog box. I've selected the data, and all I want is minimum, maximum, and range. I click OK, and I have the minimum, the maximum, and the range. The minimum is 1600, maximum is 2900. So I would go back. Anytime you run any analysis, you want to rename the worksheet, you can right click on the worksheet, click rename, and then say frequency distribution work. So we come back here, we can create a formula here which is equal, parentheses begin, 2900, which was the maximum as a result of our calculation using Megastat, minus 1600, which is the minimum, again using the Megastat, divided by the K from the previous step, which is 7. We find out that it's 185.7. We can round it up to 186. So we can say the I equals 186. So now we are ready to do frequency distribution now that we have the interval. In order to do the frequency distribution, we go into Megastat, frequency distribution, quantitative, and we get this dialog box. By now you know how to select the data. So input range is the data. We click on this little minus sign, click and drag to select all of the data that we want to run frequency distribution on. Go back into the main dialog box and then click on equal with intervals. It's asking me what is the interval width, or the I. We know that that is 186 from our calculations. It's also asking me where do you want to start making the frequency distribution. The minimum that we have is 1600, so we can start at 1600. So I give it 1600 is the lower boundary of the first interval, first group. So once I have these two numbers plugged in, which we calculated manually, I can click on OK. If you see this error message, that's okay. But now you see the frequency distribution. Let's see how many classes we got. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. We have one more than what we predicted, and that's okay. One more or one less is okay because that was the approximate number of classes. The histogram is here. You can click on any of these bars once, and all the bars and all the data is selected. If you count to 3, 1, 2, 3, and count and click on any one single bar, only one bar is then selected. What you want to do is you want to go into this font area and then you can click on the next bar and only that bar would be selected. You can get different colors for the different bars that we have. So our graph histogram is easier to look at, and we can easily analyze the data. As you know that statistics is about collecting, organizing, analyzing, and presenting data to make more informed decisions. So in this exercise, the data was collected, was a housing data, it was a raw data, and then we organized it into a frequency distribution, and now let's analyze the data. So what I see here is that this distribution is a normal distribution. Most of the values are in the middle, and there are less values on both side extremes. I also see that on the y-axis I have percentages. There are very few homes. Only 4% of the homes are 1600 to 1786. Our interval was 186 square feet. You would find about 9% of the homes in between 1786 to 1972. Most of the homes, as we see from this data, are between 1972 square feet to 2344 square feet. We have very few homes, 2.5%, that are above 2,716 square feet, and the maximum that we have is 2,900. That was our maximum. So in this exercise, I showed you how to create frequency distribution using Megastat. We also learned how to download and install Megastat, and once it's installed, where does it show up. Please make sure that once you complete the analysis that you rename that worksheet. So I right click on this worksheet and call this task 1. In your project you're asked to rename each worksheet as a task file. So this concludes this video. We talked about Megastat, and we learned how to do frequency distribution using Megastat.